The human experience is a tapestry woven from threads of linear time, stitched carefully by memory and anchored by the steady, predictable heartbeat of the present moment. We navigate our days with an implicit trust in the chronology of our lives, believing that the past is a closed book, the future an unwritten manuscript, and the present a singular, fleeting line of ink moving across the page. Yet, there are moments when this reliable geometry of existence falters, when the smooth continuum of our perception suffers a magnificent, silent fracture. It happens without warning, often in the most mundane settings, a sudden, arresting wave of recognition that washes over the consciousness, whispering that this exact moment has been lived before. And the light falling through a kitchen window, the particular cadence of a stranger's laughter, the specific arrangement of shadows across a cobblestone street, all at once, these ordinary fragments of reality are cast in an uncanny, luminous glow. We stand frozen, suspended between the certainty of our historical timeline and an overwhelming, intuitive certainty that we are replaying a scene from an unremembered past. This is the phenomenon we call déjà vu, a French phrase meaning literally already seen, but which carries within its brief syllables an entire universe of existential wonder, psychological mystery, and cosmic longing. To experience déjà vu is to feel a strange, momentary alienation from one's own mind, as though the internal architecture of thought has suddenly shifted to reveal a hidden corridor. And for centuries, humanity has struggled to find a language capable of mapping this phantom landscape. Science speaks to us of neurological misfires, of a brief delay in the transmission of data between the eyes and the deeper recesses of the brain, creating an optical echo that makes the immediate present feel like a recalled memory. It explains the sensation as a minor glitch in the grand machinery of our cognitive apparatus, a temporary desynchronization of the dual processing tracks that manage our perception of what is happening now and what has happened before. While these materialist explanations offer a comforting structural framework, they often fail to capture the profound, almost spiritual resonance of the experience itself. They explain the mechanism of the lens, but ignore the vast, breathtaking landscape that the lens has momentarily exposed. When the mind feels with absolute conviction that it has seen this before, it is not merely reacting to a biological stutter. It is participating in a profound dialogue with the nature of time, memory, and the hidden depths of consciousness. There is a distinct, haunting beauty to this strangeness, a sense that we are catching a glimpse of a larger, more intricate reality operating beneath the surface of our waking lives. The feeling is not one of simple recollection, like remembering where one left a set of keys or recalling a childhood melody. Instead, it arrives as a hauntingly beautiful paradox, a memory without an origin, an echo without an initial sound. It feels strange because it disrupts our most fundamental assumptions about who we are and how we occupy space and time. We are accustomed to being the authors of our journey, moving forward along a one-way path. But déjà vu suggests, if only for a few breathless seconds, that we might actually be readers turning the pages of a book that has already been written. The mind, confronted with this sudden inversion of chronology, experiences a form of sacred vertigo. It is as though a veil has been pulled back, revealing that the rigid boundaries we erect between yesterday, today, and tomorrow are far more porous than we dare to imagine. This strangeness suggests that our minds possess a subterranean capacity, a vast and quiet reservoir of awareness that operates far beyond the narrow borders of our everyday attention. If the conscious mind is a small boat sailing across the surface of an immense ocean, then déjà vu is the sudden, shadowy movement of something massive and ancient swimming in the deep waters below. It forces us to confront the possibility that our minds have, in some mysterious fashion, seen this before. Perhaps this recognition stems from the intricate predictive nature of human thought, which constantly simulates countless variations of the future based on the patterns of the past, occasionally hitting upon an exact match in reality. Or perhaps it points towards something even more expansive, a cosmic architecture where time does not flow like a river, but exists all at once, an eternal, unchanging tapestry where every moment is permanently inscribed. And in this view, the mind does not travel to the past. Rather, it momentarily expands its field of vision to encompass a wider view of the grand design, recognizing a coordinate it has always known. To explore this phenomenon is to embark on a journey through the labyrinth of human consciousness, tracing the delicate lines where psychology meets philosophy and where the scientific merges with the mythic. We are invited to look past the immediate discomfort of the uncanny and instead lean into the profound curiosity it provokes. Why does this flash of recognition feel so intimate, yet so elusive? Why does it carry such a potent emotional charge, leaving us with a lingering sense of nostalgia for a destination we cannot name? It is as if the soul itself is remembering its origin, catching a faint, distorted signal from a distant homeworld. In these moments, we are reminded that we are not passive observers trapped in a cold, mechanistic universe, but deeply integrated participants in a living, breathing reality that is constantly reflecting our own depth back to us. The strangeness of déjà vu is not a sign of a broken mind, but a testament to a mind that is awake, a mind that is capable of feeling the immense, unspoken weight of existence pressing against the thin fabric of the present. As we stand on the threshold of this exploration, we must be willing to abandon our rigid adherence to the linear and the predictable. We must allow ourselves to be guided by the poetry of the phenomenon, recognizing that the most profound truths are often found in the margins of our certainty. That this journey is not about finding a definitive reductionist answer that dismisses the magic of the experience. Rather, it is about expanding our capacity for wonder, using the strange sensation of déjà vu as a key to unlock a deeper appreciation for the mysteries of human perception. By investigating why the mind feels as though it has seen this before, we begin to uncover the hidden architecture of memory, the fluid nature of identity, and the beautiful, cyclical rhythms that govern both the human heart and the cosmic dance of creation. We are about to venture into the core themes and foundational pillars that sustain this timeless enigma, peeling back the layers of illusion to discover the profound truths that wait just beneath the surface of our awareness. To fully comprehend the striking resonance of déjà vu, we must peel back the layers of our daily habituation and examine the core themes that anchor this phenomenon within the broader landscape of human consciousness. At the very center of this experience lies the tension between illusion and deeper truth, a philosophical battleground where our sensory data clashes violently with our internal sense of reality. When the flash of recognition occurs, it presents a radical challenge to the concept of linear time, which is perhaps the most fundamental construct organizing human society. We construct our civilizations, our schedules, and our very identities around the belief that time flows in a single direction, a relentless arrow traveling from the unchangeable past into the unformed future. Yet, when the mind encounters a moment it feels it has already seen, this linear progression is instantly revealed to be a fragile scaffolding. The experience suggests that time may behave less like a straight line, and more like a vast multi-dimensional ocean where different currents can cross, pool, and occasionally form ripples that break across the shoreline of our immediate awareness. This disruption introduces the profound concept of the cosmic mirror, the idea that our immediate physical surroundings are not isolated objects, but reflections of a more vast, interconnected template. In this view, when we walk into an unfamiliar room and feel a sudden, deep-seated familiarity, we are not witnessing an error in our biological hardware, but rather a moment of alignment between our individual consciousness and the universal patterns that structure reality. And this thematic framework aligns closely with ancient philosophical traditions, which argue that all learning is simply a form of remembering. According to these perspectives, the soul enters this physical existence already carrying the archetypal blueprints of all possible experiences, a cosmic library written in the language of pure form. The ordinary world, with its physical limitations and sensory distractions, acts as a veil that causes us to forget this inherent knowledge. Déjà vu, therefore, represents a momentary tear in that veil, a sudden spark of anamnesis where the mind recognizes an external arrangement because it matches a piece of the internal, eternal mosaic it has always carried. Beneath this metaphysical interpretation lies an equally fascinating psychological pillar, which focuses on the intricate mechanics of memory and the subconscious mind. And our waking consciousness is highly selective, filtering out a vast majority of the sensory data that bombards us every second so that we can focus on immediate tasks without becoming overwhelmed. However, our subconscious mind is a tireless, unblinking observer, recording the subtle textures of our environment that bypass our active attention entirely. The specific pitch of a background hum, the peripheral pattern of a wallpaper, or the emotional undertone of a passing conversation. When we encounter a new situation that shares a high density of these subtle, uncatalogued details with a past event, the subconscious registers an intense match before the conscious mind can process why. This creates a strange cognitive dissonance, where we feel a profound sense of past familiarity, yet our conscious memory bank returns no specific record of the event. We are left with a ghost of an experience, a phantom memory that feels ancient precisely because its roots are buried so deeply in the fertile soil of the subconscious. This interplay between the seen and the unseen highlights another crucial theme: the predictive nature of the human intellect. The mind is not merely a passive recording device. It is an active simulator, constantly projecting trajectories into the future to prepare us for what comes next. It endlessly recombines elements of our past experiences, fears, dreams, and desires to create internal maps of potential realities long before our physical bodies arrive at those destinations. On rare occasions, the chaotic, swirling currents of actual reality align perfectly with one of these complex internal simulations. And when we step into that specific moment in the physical world, the mind experiences an electric shock of recognition. It feels as though we have seen this before because, in the silent labs of our imagination, we truly have. We have rehearsed the moment in our sleep or in the quiet drift of our daydreams, mapping out the precise architecture of the event so vividly that when it finally manifests in the material realm, it feels like a rerun of a show we watched long ago. This theme of internal rehearsal leads us directly to the doorstep of the dream world, that mysterious nocturnal landscape where the rigid rules of logic and geography are dissolved. In our dreams, the mind constructs elaborate narratives, explores intricate environments, and experiences profound emotional epics most of which are forgotten the moment our eyes open to the morning light. And these forgotten dreams do not vanish entirely. They remain suspended in the deep, oceanic currents of our psyche like sunken ships. When our waking life accidentally mirrors the emotional landscape, the spatial layout, or the symbolic structure of one of these forgotten nocturnal voyages, a sudden bridge is formed between the worlds of sleep and wakefulness. The intense strangeness of déjà vu is, in this context, the feeling of a dream bleeding into reality, a sudden, surreal awakening to the fact that our nocturnal wanderings possess a tangible validity that can cast its shadow over the brightly lit stage of our daily life. Ultimately, these core themes point toward a unifying truth, that human consciousness is far more expansive, fluid, and interconnected than our everyday ego-driven identity cares to admit. The phenomenon of déjà vu serves as a gentle but persistent reminder that we are not separate islands dotting an indifferent sea, but expressions of a singular, deeply integrated field of existence. It challenges us to look beyond the superficial surface of things, encouraging us to perceive the hidden threads of symmetry, resonance, and harmony that bind our individual lives to the greater cosmic tapestry. When the mind stands astonished in the grip of this inexplicable recognition, it is being offered an invitation to step out of the small, cramped house of ordinary perception and look up at the vast, star-filled sky of potentiality. It is an invitation to explore the deeper symbolic narratives that humanity has constructed over millennia to make sense of this beautiful, haunting mystery, narratives that we will explore as we continue to journey further into the labyrinth of this timeless experience. To venture deeper into the mystery of why the mind feels as though it has seen this before, we must leave behind the language of clinical mechanics and enter the realm of myth, allegory, and symbolic narrative. Human history is rich with stories designed to translate the unspeakable whispers of the soul into structures we can contemplate. And through these tales, déjà vu transforms from a psychological anomaly into a profound spiritual threshold. Consider the ancient allegory of the cosmic loom, a story told in various forms across disparate cultures, from the spinning fates of Mediterranean lore to the delicate woven destinies of Eastern philosophy. In this narrative, the universe is not a chaotic explosion of random events, but a masterfully orchestrated tapestry designed by a supreme, unseen intelligence. Every life is a single thread of vibrant color woven into an incredibly vast, predetermined pattern. As the shuttle of the loom moves back and forth through the warp and weft of existence, certain intricate designs, geometries, and motifs are intentionally repeated to maintain the structural integrity and aesthetic harmony of the grand design. When an individual experiences a sudden, arresting flash of déjà vu, it is symbolized as a moment where the conscious traveler accidentally glimpses the larger pattern of the cloth from above, rather than merely seeing the single thread they are currently navigating. It is as if the traveler's awareness momentarily detaches from the immediate movement of the needle and expands to recognize a recurring geometric knot in the fabric that their soul has already encountered or helped design. And this symbolic framework changes our relationship with the uncanny sensation. It is no longer an error or an illusion, but a moment of profound alignment. It is the comforting yet terrifying realization that we are exactly where we are supposed to be within the cosmic architecture, stepping precisely onto a pre-woven coordinate of our destiny that was drafted before the stars were born. Another resonant symbolic narrative is found in the ancient myth of the subterranean river of forgetfulness, often paired with its lesser-known twin, the stream of remembrance. According to this tradition, before a soul descends into the dense, material reality of human birth, it must drink from a mystical river that erases the memory of its true celestial origin, its past lives, and the vast blueprints of the cosmos. This temporary amnesia is deemed necessary so that the soul can experience the struggles, triumphs, and lessons of physical life with genuine stakes, untainted by the absolute certainty of the afterlife. However, the erasure is rarely absolute. Deep within the core of human consciousness, a few glowing embers of that cosmic memory remain alive, buried beneath the heavy soil of earthly identity. In this allegorical context, a moment of déjà vu represents a sudden, miraculous drop of water falling from the stream of remembrance onto those dormant embers. For a single, fleeting second, the waking world aligns so perfectly with the soul's original, unforgotten blueprint that the spell of amnesia falters. The individual stands in a grocery store aisle or on a mountain trail, suddenly struck by a wave of familiarity that feels older than their physical body. And the narrative tells us that in this moment, the soul is not remembering an event from its current linear lifetime. Rather, it is recognizing a timeless archetype. It is catching a faint, distorted echo of the eternal home it left behind, a signpost confirming that even in the depths of earthly forgetfulness, the connection to the source remains unbroken. We also find a powerful symbolic mirror in the concept of the grand cyclical spiral, an idea that rejects the Western obsession with time as a straight, terminating arrow, and instead visualizes existence as a majestic, ascending staircase that winds upward through eternity. In this narrative, history, personal growth, and cosmic evolution do not move forward into a completely blank void. Instead, they circle around a central axis of absolute truth. As we progress through our lives, we inevitably return to the same archetypal coordinates, facing the same fundamental lessons, themes, and emotional landscapes that we have encountered before, but from a slightly higher vantage point. When déjà vu strikes, it is the sensation of looking directly down through the transparent floor of the present moment and seeing the exact same coordinate we occupied on the previous turn of the spiral. The scenery looks identical, the emotional resonance feels strikingly familiar, and the mind gasps because it recognizes the terrain. The narrative suggests that this recognition is an existential diagnostic tool. It asks the traveler to pause and consider, have you truly ascended to the next level of the spiral, or are you stuck in a closed, repetitive loop, bound to repeat the same patterns because you have not yet mastered the underlying lesson? The strange feeling is a call to heightened awareness, an invitation to break free from unconscious repetition and consciously claim the evolution that the spiral offers. Through these deeper symbolic narratives, we begin to understand why the strangeness of déjà vu is accompanied by such an intense, lingering emotional charge. It is the language of the mythic dimension speaking through the mundane details of our daily routine. It is an awakening to the hidden architecture of reality, a gentle reminder that our lives are part of a grander, more poetic narrative than the simple pursuit of survival and material comfort. These stories teach us to treat the flash of recognition not as a passing curiosity to be dismissed with a shrug, but as a sacred text to be deciphered, a momentary opening through which we can perceive the timeless nature of our own identity. As we carry these rich allegories forward, we are challenged to move beyond abstract contemplation and discover how these grand symbolic insights can be integrated into the very fabric of our everyday lives, transforming the way we walk through the world, which is precisely the terrain we will explore in the next stage of our journey. Transitioning from the lofty heights of cosmic myth and philosophical speculation into the immediate, tangible reality of our daily lives allows us to discover the true value of the déjà vu experience. When we strip away the initial layer of disorientation that accompanies this phenomenon, we are left with a powerful psychological and practical tool that can fundamentally alter how we interact with our environment, make decisions, and manage our mental well-being. Far from being a useless cognitive quirk, this sudden flash of profound familiarity can serve as an internal compass, an existential wake-up call that demands our immediate, uncompromised presence in the current moment. In a modern world characterized by endless distractions, where our minds are constantly fractured by digital notifications, anxieties about the future, and regrets about the past, Déjà Vu acts as a violent yet gentle arrest of our attention. It forces us to stop, look around, and become intensely aware of our immediate surroundings, grounding us in the absolute reality of the now with an intensity that few other experiences can match. By leaning into this heightened state of awareness, we can cultivate a practice of radical presence that enhances our ability to observe the subtle details of our lives. When the sensation strikes, rather than brushing it off as a momentary lapse in brain function, we can choose to use it as a trigger to conduct an immediate internal and external inventory. We can observe the specific arrangement of the room, the body language of the people around us, the emotional quality of our own thoughts, and the precise sensory inputs we are receiving. This deliberate focus transforms a passive neurological event into an active mindfulness practice, training our brains to become more perceptive, empathetic, and attuned to the present. Over time, this discipline expands our cognitive capacity, allowing us to notice patterns, opportunities, and dangers in our professional and personal lives that we would have otherwise completely overlooked because we were operating on a form of detached mental autopilot. Furthermore, understanding the predictive and pattern recognition mechanics that underlie déjà vu can significantly boost our creative and intuitive problem-solving abilities. And when we accept that this feeling often arises because our subconscious mind has already simulated or observed a high density of similar variables in the past, we begin to trust our intuition more deeply. Musicians, writers, scientists, and engineers often report that their most groundbreaking ideas arrive with a strange sense of inevitability, a feeling that the solution was not invented, but rather discovered or remembered. By honoring the moments when the mind feels it has seen this before, we open a direct channel of communication with the vast subterranean archives of our subconscious. We can learn to rely on this implicit knowledge during high-stakes situations where logical analysis is too slow or lacks sufficient data, allowing our deeply ingrained expertise and internal simulations to guide our actions with fluid, decisive precision. And this integration also offers profound therapeutic benefits, particularly in how we process stress, trauma, and recurring negative behaviors. Many individuals find themselves trapped in destructive behavioral loops, choosing the same toxic dynamics in relationships, repeating the same self-sabotaging habits at work, or reacting to challenges with the same disproportionate anxiety. When a situation triggers a feeling of intense, uncomfortable familiarity, it is often our psychological defense mechanisms recognizing a past emotional template. By applying the lens of the cyclical spiral, we can use this specific flavor of déjà vu to pause and recognize that we are standing at a familiar crossroad. Instead of blindly reacting along the well-worn pathways of our past programming, the conscious recognition of the pattern grants us a precious second of free will. Yet we can choose to respond differently, breaking the unconscious cycle and consciously steering our lives toward a healthier, more constructive trajectory. On an interpersonal level, sharing and discussing these uncanny moments can foster deeper connections and a sense of shared humanity among individuals. Because déjà vu is a universal human experience that transcends cultural, geographic, and generational boundaries, it serves as a powerful equalizer. Speaking openly about the vulnerability and wonder that accompanies the sensation allows us to dismantle the rigid professional masks we often wear, inviting others into a space of authentic curiosity and mutual exploration. It reminds us that beneath our varied opinions, socioeconomic statuses, and personal histories, we are all navigating the same mysterious architecture of human consciousness, trying to make sense of the same beautiful, baffling existence. This shared vulnerability creates an environment of empathy and trust, strengthening the social fabric of our communities and workplaces by reminding us of the invisible collective currents that bind us together. Ultimately, the practical integration of this phenomenon requires us to bridge the gap between our analytical intellect and our capacity for awe. It demands that we do not sacrifice the poetry of life on the altar of cold reductionism, nor abandon logic in favor of ungrounded fantasy. Beta, by treating déjà vu as both a fascinating neurological puzzle and a meaningful existential signpost, we develop a more holistic, resilient approach to living. We learn to move through our daily routines with a sense of active expectancy, realizing that even the most ordinary moments carry the potential for profound revelation. This balanced perspective transforms our relationship with the world, turning the mundane journey of survival into an inspired, continuous exploration of a reality that is constantly dropping hints about its own hidden depth, preparing us for the final crystallization of these insights into a unified vision of transformation. As we bring this immersive journey to its natural culmination, we are invited to stand back and admire the magnificent architecture of the phenomenon we have sought to map. What began as a fleeting, unsettling ripple across the surface of our daily awareness has revealed itself to be a profound gateway into the deepest sanctuaries of human consciousness. We have traced the roots of déjà vu from the microscopic dance of neurotransmitters and the sophisticated data processing networks of the physical brain to the vast, timeless landscapes of cosmic mythology and psychological archetypes. We have seen how this brief fracture in our conventional timeline challenges the tyranny of the clock, suggesting that our existence is not a frantic, linear race toward an unknown finish line, but a beautifully coordinated dance within an expansive, interconnected field of reality. Every theme explored, every symbol decoded, and every practical application discussed has served to reinforce a singular, undeniable truth: that the human mind is far grander, more resilient, and more intricately woven into the fabric of the universe than our ordinary, waking identity ever dares to dream. The persistent strangeness of feeling as though your mind has seen this before is ultimately not a symptom of isolation, but an anthem of belonging. It is a whisper from the hidden architecture of existence, a gentle reminder that you are not a stranger wandering through a cold, indifferent, and foreign cosmos. Instead, you are an essential, preordained participant in a living tapestry, walking along pathways that have been prepared for you since the dawn of creation. When the flash of recognition strikes, it is the universe dropping a mirror in front of your soul, asking you to recognize your own reflection in the arrangement of the stars, the shadows on the wall, and the faces of those around you. It breaks the illusion of separation, bridging the gap between the internal self and the external world, and casting a luminous, sacred glow over the ordinary routines that we so often take for granted. It reveals that the sacred is not hidden away in distant temples or ancient texts, but is pulsing quietly beneath the surface of a grocery store aisle, a quiet office, or a rain-slicked city street. Therefore, this exploration concludes not with a static answer, but with a vibrant, transformational call to action. We are being summoned to awaken from the numbing slumber of unconscious habituation and to reclaim our inherent capacity for radical wonder. To live with an awareness of déjà vu is to commit to walking through the world with our eyes wide open, expecting the extraordinary to blossom from the soil of the mundane at any given moment. It demands that we abandon the cynical reductionism that seeks to strip the poetry from our experiences without falling into the trap of ungrounded fantasy. We are called to cultivate a state of active presence, honoring the whispers of our subconscious, trusting the sophisticated guidance of our internal simulations, and using every flash of uncanny recognition as a fierce, uncompromising anchor to ground ourselves in the absolute reality of the present moment. Let this understanding transform the very cadence of your daily life. And the next time the atmosphere around you shifts, the next time the present moment suddenly feels saturated with the heavy golden light of an unremembered past, do not simply shrug your shoulders and turn away. Pause. Breathe in the immense weight of the mystery. Let the sacred vertigo wash over you, and listen closely to the silent dialogue taking place within the deep corridors of your awareness. Recognize that moment as an invitation to step out of the cramped, predictable house of your everyday ego and look up at the vast, star-filled sky of your true potential. By honoring these subtle tears in the veil of time, you begin to break free from the exhausting, repetitive loops of past programming and consciously claim your place on the ascending spiral of your own personal and spiritual evolution. You become the conscious author of a journey that is both entirely new and ancient, navigating a reality that is constantly reflecting your own infinite depth back to you, reminding you that you have always been here, you have always known the way, and your mind has, indeed, seen this before.